Good morning, it's Devorah. It's InStory Live, Friday in the forest. As you can see, the sun is shining right on the back of me. It'll get better in just a second. We are lit up and ready to go. Okay, so what do I want to talk about? I want to talk about the feeling of joy. Friday is often about feelings. Sometimes I call it feeling fit, fabulous, and free. But now what I want to talk about is just altogether feeling, and particularly the feeling of joy. And why? Because you know how I love to share Jewish time with you, because we are heading into the holiday of Sukkot. And this is the holiday, it's a harvest holiday, and a sukkah is a small hut, I guess is the best way to say. Hi, Diane. Is the best way to say it. The main feature is it has to have walls, and the roof has to be made of branches of some sort. It could be bamboo mats even, but it has to be made of something impermanent and natural. And the idea of the sukkah is that we leave the permanence of our house and the idea that we are protected by our roof, and we enter into the sukkah into the understanding that we are really ultimately protected by God, that we have this higher faith, this higher trust and protection. And it's also called Season of Joy. And it comes after the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, and after Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. And this is a deep time of work, of personal work, of growth, of development, of assessment, like of really asking yourself hard questions, feeling the pain, the struggles, and getting up out of them and seeing a new story, telling yourself a new story. And that is what I want to open up for you, that we can tell each other and tell ourselves a new story, a story that allows us to feel more joy, to feel more uplifted and more elevated. And so I was thinking about this and how it works. And I think part of the idea is there comes a point, I think, when you notice that you have more choice than you thought. Meaning you can decide to feel joy. It's not entirely dependent on your outer circumstances. And at the same time, it's not about shoving down your feelings. As I mentioned yesterday, I'm reading Brene Brown's book, Rising Strong, and she spends quite a long time talking about feelings and all the different ways that we don't express them. And so part of this deep work is to feel your feelings, to express them and heal them in healthy ways, and to get back up. And what happens is you can feel it, breathe, like shift, and then you kind of realize then you can choose joy. Hi, Jean. Then you can choose joy. And I remember many moments where I went, I can choose joy? Oh no, what a thought. I'm not just a victim of circumstance. So we're heading into a holiday that is called the Season of Our Joy. And it has a lot of fun rituals. It's also kind of a harvest holiday. We have fruits and branches that we wave around. We have what's called a lulav and an etrog. And we eat in the sukkah, and the idea is that we dwell in it for a week, and we can represent that dwelling by eating in the sukkah. Now, some people do like to sleep in their sukkah. And when I lived in Israel, in some of the more rural areas, people would move literally their whole house out into their sukkah and live in it. And there's an aspect of the holiday also about making things very beautiful, of decorating your sukkah. And this is another beautiful idea in Judaism and in Torah, is to take something physical and make it beautiful and lift it up and fill it with spiritually uplifted energy. So Sukkot is really a model of that, of taking the physical and uplifting it and having the spiritual, the trust in that higher spiritual realm as the guide, as the lead post. And one of the things that I speak a lot about to the women who I work with is this feeling that we really have to emanate from our deep spiritual center. That a lot of us have spent a lot of time shutting that down, like not actually emanating from that place. And so there comes a time for a lot of us, especially the women in my community, many of whom are like me, over 50, and some in our 60s and 70s. There is this feeling of being called to something more. And sometimes that feeling of being called to something more is unclear and unformed, but it's deeply felt. And it's important to honor that calling of your soul and do the work to find out the voice of it, the shape of it, and to feel and own the value of it, because I think our world needs our voices, our visions, and for us to value our vision and our voice and to bring our stories out in the world. And this is that idea that we emanate from that deep spiritual place of having a calling. And so if that's you, I want to support, encourage, and inspire you to answer with a yes to that deep calling of your soul, to say yes to open to new possibilities and trust that you can do it. This is a big piece of the work that's calling us forward, is to walk through the old feelings of doubt or fear or unworthiness or not good enough, all that stuff, and to find the shape and the voice of your vision. And then to develop the clarity and confidence so that you can share it in the world, because the world needs your story. I really believe that if you are feeling called, it's because you are being called to make a difference. You are being called to help the next person, to bring your gifts, your wisdom, and your talents forward into the world. So I would love to hear from you. If you are listening to this, and post a comment. Tell me if you have that feeling that you know that more is being asked of you. I would love to know. And if you are already helping others, I would love to know that too. It's so powerful and so meaningful. So I won't be online Monday and Tuesday because I will be offline in the world of holiness, so to speak, of Sukkot. It's our offline time. And hi Chana Batya, so nice to see you. It's almost Chag Sameach for Sukkot. I've just been talking about the joy of Sukkot, of the holiday. And so I won't be in the online world. I'll be in the elevated world, so to speak. It's very good for the soul, actually, because it really forces us out of our ordinary busy lives and into another realm. And it's one that's very soul nourishing. And I really believe that we really need that soul nourishing time for ourselves. And I encourage you to take it, whatever your faith, whatever your tradition. Make sure to give yourself some time like this, some time in the forest, if you have one handy, or the beach, or whatever you have handy. But take some time to walk outside, to look up, to look around, to feel deeply, and honor the traditions of your faith. Find your way. Sometimes we have to find our way back. I had to do that. I had to leave my Jewish tradition and I had to find my way back in a more spiritually connected and authentic way. And now you all get to hear all about it. So it's sending you all a lot of love and a lot of blessings, that you should really find that deep calling of your soul. Have the faith and the trust to answer yes, to leave the safety of your house, so to speak, and enter into a sukkah, enter into a new vision for your life and for your work in the world and what you have to bring forward. And for my Jewish community, wishing you many blessings and joy for the holiday. And for all of my community, I am wishing you the blessing of joy. And as I always say, remember to go out in the world, share your story, live your purpose, and be a blessing. Bye, folks.